Good morning. Week 11 NFL DFS for FanDuel and DraftKings. Time flies when you're having fun. Got the big overseas game today. We got the Commanders and the Dolphins playing. Should be a barn burner as always over there. We got two got two teams on bye. We got the Colts and the Saints taking off this week, but got a really interesting slate. We've got just a lot of heavy hitters. We got a lot of like real cheap plays. We're going to get through all of that. Jameson, Hutchison, the greatest of all time. Joel Wirth, how are you doing this morning, my man?
I'm doing all right. A little tired. The animals got me up early this morning, but yeah, we're ready to go.
Good deal. Good deal. So we got 7 games in the early window. We've got 4 in the late window. Appreciate everybody tuning in. If you got any questions, start sits, any of that stuff, drop them in the comments. We'd be happy to help you. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe to the show. And with that being said, we will kick this off. I think this is probably one of the more interesting games of the day. We're going to kick this off with the Chicago Bears on the road heading to Minnesota, which looks like on paper either should be really fun or should end up like a slog. How are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, we got, I haven't updated my numbers since earlier this week, but we'll go with what we had. Bears are 3-point road underdogs. 48 is the total. 22.5 implied for Chicago. 25.5 implied for Minnesota. I'm a big fan. Dude, we did the start sit show with the Club Fantasy guys. Appreciate Josh and Gator having us on yesterday. Is the DFS market is down on Justin Jefferson as the season-long market is? Because if it is, it feels like a generational wealth opportunity with Justin Jefferson. If he's going to be low-owned, I am smashing that button.
I was definitely thinking that too. We do this all the time with some guys. They take a couple weeks off, just like any wide receiver in the NFL does. You can't blast the league for 40 points every single week. And Justin Jefferson's sitting here at the 8,600. I know it's not been great, but McCarthy's got a really nice matchup here against the Bears defense or lack thereof. And I know it hasn't been pretty outside of the one quarter for McCarthy, but I think it really sets up nicely. And I think this game can kind of go back and forth. So I don't think he's going to get clicked today. He's not near as expensive as some of the other guys, but people are going to, I think, play Puka and JSN. They're going to find their way up there. Probably played Nico Collins. They probably play Rashee Rice. And then Justin Jefferson is like the lone man forgotten about here in this spot.
I think he might get clicked because I think McCarthy's going to be chalk today. You know, like even though he hasn't been great, I get the concern.
Yep.
But at 5,200 against the Bears, he'd had that good second half against them in the previous game. Like I think he's going to be really chalk today. So I do think Jefferson is going to get played in some McCarthy stacks.
I think McCarthy will get played. I don't know if people are going to bring anything along with him. And we'll talk about this the rest of the slate. We have Trey McBride, who a lot of people are going to play. He is very expensive. We've got the Seahawks-Rams game that people are going to get into, and it just gets very expensive very quick. So they're going to punt at quarterback. They don't want to play Aaron Rodgers because he doesn't run, which I understand. Jacoby Brissett, he's fine, I guess. We'll see about famous Jameis. I know people love to click that, but that's a terrible.
They're going to start him. Yeah, it's wrong, but people will start him.
And then you got McCarthy here, who I think will get clicked, but I think they're going to try to jam some of that other stuff in. So it's like him, Jordan Addison, who I feel like always ends up a really good click. He ends up being 5,500 on DraftKings, and on FanDuel, he's 6,900. He's not going to get played. I'm not going to vouch for TJ Hawkinson. When JJ McCarthy's been quarterback, Hawkinson has just kind of fallen off a cliff. But on the Bears side, we've seen what the Bears have done lately. They've ran the absolute crap out of the ball. It's been DeAndre Swift. It's been Kyle Monangai. And the way this slate's shaping out, it seems like we got a lot of the same plays, and a lot of these guys are going to get kind of left behind. DeAndre Swift's probably going to be one of those guys. I don't think people are going to play him. He's 6,900 on FanDuel and 5,800 on DraftKings. I also know that Brian Flores has been very good, but Caleb Williams has gotten a lot better against the blitz than he was last year, and then even earlier in the season, he's kind of improved a little bit. And I say that as somebody who's not been a Caleb Williams guy myself, but I don't think he's a guy who's going to get clicked. He's 5,900. He's more close to Brock Purdy, who's going to get played a lot.
Yeah, I don't know how you click him in front of Purdy.
No, but as far as tournaments and stuff go, I think that's honestly really fun because this game's going to go two ways. It's going to be a slog and it's going to be ugly, or I think these guys just go back and forth and end up in a shootout. And we got some wind alert on some of these games later on, but I think it's interesting. Rome Odunze, 6,200. He had the one donut, but I mean, he's really started to pick it back up. And then DJ Moore, that's not a fun click for anybody in the world, but he's there as well. I do want to bring up Colston Loveland.
Yep.
I don't want to say he's had the one good game. His target or his participation on the field has gotten better. I don't think it's been elite by any stretch of the imagination. Problem is, if you're worried about Trey McBride and his ceiling, I mean, do you think Colston Loveland, I know he's had the one game, do you think he is viable this week given kind of the option at tight end world?
We will get to this when we talk about McBride. I'm going to have a lot of lineups with McBride and flex. So yeah, I'm going to be looking for cheap tight ends. So yeah, I will definitely have some Loveland today.
Yeah, so I agree. So I think both stacks on both sides is viable, and this game's a lot cheaper than some of the other ones that we're going to get into. So
yeah,
I think that is it. Outside of the,
I do want to mention Aaron Jones, who I think is a really good click.
Yeah,
he's 5,500 on DK, right there with Woody Marks, who I also like quite a bit, and RJ Harvey. So that kind of tier, I think, is, like you said earlier, it's tough. Like, pricing isn't super tight, but it's tight at the top, right? It's like it's tough to get multiple elite players in your lineup and still have a kind of a functional lineup. So those guys, I think that's going to be your core RB2 group, or your flex group, especially on FanDuel, where you want to be starting running back. So I do think Aaron Jones is going to get quite a bit of play today.
Yeah, that was the last thing I was going to say before we moved on to the next game. Aaron Jones, we're going to have a lot of the lineups with the same core guys just kind of flipped in and out. We've got some wide receivers that, just because a lot of these people, Chase Brown, Jalen Warren, I mean, you're going to get down here to Woody Marks and Aaron Jones, like you said. It's going to be a lot of these guys. RJ Harvey, we'll get to in a little bit. That's that 5 to 6, probably some DeMarcado as well. Those guys are all going to be in a bunch of lineups because everybody's going to jam some of these top plays. So it doesn't sound like it any interest in defense on either side.
Not really, since there's one mandatory start defense today that we'll be talking about.
So next game, I'll let you have at it on this one. The Green Bay Packers on the road to the New York Giants. Seems like I got a wind alert. I usually do not get scared off about this stuff unless somebody shows up at my house and knocks on the door and says, "Hey, Jameson, we need to be really worried about this." But they do have a wind alert out for its 4 games, and we'll get to the rest of them. But Packers and the Giants. Packers have really disappointed you. They've disappointed me. They've disappointed everybody. Is there any hope for Green Bay right now?
I'm going to tell you there's a lot of hope, but let's get to the numbers. Early week, I think this has gone down to 7, but early this was Green Bay 7.5. 42.5 is the total. So probably the Jameis effect going on there a little bit. So Packers implied total of 25 and 17.5 for the Giants. Mentioned this yesterday. Got to go back to our Jameis fundamentals. Number 1, DFS 101. You always start the defense going against Jameis Winston. Always. The only lineups I will not be starting the Packers defense in is the ones where we go Packers avalanche stacks, and I think that's completely viable today. This is a point I made yesterday. Jameis Winston gives teams extra possessions because he's always going to throw 3 or 4 YOLO balls that are going to turn into interceptions in short fields. He's going to take a bunch of sacks that turn into strip sacks and fumbles. And he's an incompletion machine, man. He's never been as much as a 65% completion rate passer. And that was back when he was in Tampa Bay. Ever since then, he's been closer to 60%. So a lot of balls on the ground. That means a lot of clock stoppages. That leads to extra possessions. That's very important for a team like Green Bay, who kind of plays fairly slow. So extra possessions are good for them. It's an absolute smash spot for Josh Jacobs. Giants run defense is there. Listen, the Giants are bad at everything except rushing the passer. That's something they're good at. And they have no Kayvon Thibodeau. They're going to be missing players at every level of the defense because of injury. No Kayvon Thibodeau, probably no Bobby O'Carrot Cake, no Tyler Nubin. It's a beat up defense. It's a bad defense. They are right there with Dallas and Cincinnati as the kind of the 3 worst defenses in the league. Smash spot for Josh Jacobs. But again, because of the extra possessions, I'm very into kind of Packers avalanche stacks and going, like Love and Jacobs and Dobbs or Watson maybe Luke Musgrave is your cheap tight end because I think he can pay off his price. I'm going to have multiple lineups that are very heavy on the Packers just because of the Jameis effect.
Yeah, and honestly, the Packers kind of need to win here. They've been kind of reeling the last couple weeks. I know they just lost.
Legitimately, I think LaFleur gets fired if they do not win this game. I think there's a very good case to be made that you need to make a move.
Yeah, and they can't just get away with some of the other stuff, like the Carolina game a couple weeks ago where they end up losing, but they just kind of let them hang around and nothing happened. I mean, they really need to kind of lay the hammer today. Yeah, and it's a good spot for him as well. Christian Watson, I'm going to bring up his price because he is the one guy who can kind of beat this defense, and he's honestly, outside of Romeo Doubs, might end up being the biggest weapon that they need outside of Josh Jacobs. I know we talk about this wide receiver roulette that they played. No Jane Reed, obviously. Dontavian Wicks hasn't really been a factor. So Christian Watson is probably going to get more run than expected. So 4,400 on DraftKings. He is 5,800 on FanDuel. It's a great spot for him, taking up against this secondary that's been terrible the entire year.
Yeah, they also play, like I meant, they play the third highest rate of man coverage in the league. So unless that changes because of the new coach, and they kept the defensive coordinator, so I don't know why it would. And that's where you want to target Christian Watson is against match coverage because that's where he can go nuts. And especially with all the injuries that they have. Tyler Newman's kind of their best. I don't think he's very good, but he's their best safety. You take that guy off the field, now you're replacing him with a third, fourth. They're basically down to their 14th and 15th defensive players. So, yeah, I very much like Christian Watson today.
It's gotten very ugly for him very quick. I do. This is a DraftKings play only. I do have to bring up the PPR scam known as Wan'Dale Robinson because this is bread and butter right here. This is the last guy left for the New York Football Giants. It's Wan'Dale Robinson. He's going to get. I said yesterday he's going to get 18 receptions and he's going to have 15 yards, and he's going to get there for you because Jameis is going to keep hitting the spam button. It's him. He's 5,500 on DraftKings, and then Theo Johnson is going to get some run.
Theo's the bring back I like. If you want to bring back,
he's been fine, but God, there's a couple tight ends outside of Trey McBride I really like, and I really, really do not want to show up with Theo Johnson and be like, "Hey, this is what the best I got to offer." I understand.
Packers are bad against tight ends. They are pretty bad against tight ends.
I get it.
It's a matchup play.
Trust me, I get it, but Jesus, I mean, this is week 11 for you that I have to talk about Theo Johnson and actually, analyze this. So we talk about Packers defense. They are very expensive though. And honestly, it's a really tough week to pay up for defense with how some of the slate is. And it feels like if you pay up for anything, you're going to go to the same core of guys that I talked about earlier for wide receivers and running backs. So I think it's pretty contrarian. Josh Jacobs, I don't think he's going to get clicked today. I mean, I think he will a little bit, but I mean, he goes under 10% because people are going to play Woody Marks. They're going to play those cheap guys, Aaron Jones that we just talked about. Josh Jacobs has not been great, but I mean, the workload's there. He's got nobody behind him. And it sets up nice because, like you said, the Packers need to win. And I think the Packers need to just beat the brakes off the Giants. They cannot come in here and just sleepwalk into this game again, especially with how the NFC is working out. So
you are correct.
And Romeo Doubs is a good click too. He's going to get played a little bit because of his price tag. But I just throw that out there with the love stuff. I don't think there's anything else on this game unless I'm not playing Tyrone Tracy got all the run last week instead of Devin Singletary. I do not have any interest in Devin Singletary.
No. Packers have been very good against the run, except against Rico Dowdle and Javonte Williams for some reason. It's just I don't think this is a game, like you said, the Packers need to beat the brakes off the Giants. I just don't think this is a game script where they're going to be able to run. I think this is a game where you're going to see Jameis chucking the ball. He may have 50 pass attempts in this game.
Yep. So we'll get the Jameis.
He'll complete 26.
Yeah, we'll get the Jameis experience, and then he'll say the Bible verse at the end of the game, and everybody will ignore that his stat line was absolutely terrible. So
and then he'll go sexually harass some other woman.
There we go. We do it every year. So unfortunately, next game. This is not a fun one, but we got some fun ones coming up. The Houston Texans on the road, Tennessee to face the Titans. Davis Mills looks viable today. I know the numbers. The Texans. There's no C.J. Stroud. Titans are coming off a bye. They get Jeffrey Simmons back. There's more fantasy players viable in this game than I feel like there should be, to say the least.
And they're all on one team.
Yep.
Houston 6-point favorites. 37 is the total. 21.5 implied for the Texans. 15.5 for Tennessee. You want Woody Marks or you want Nico Collins, or do you want a cheap Dalton Schultz? Dalton Schultz I like because he's getting targets, but most of those targets have been in like trailing game scripts. Tight game scripts. So if this game gets out of hand, then I don't necessarily like Dalton Schultz. I think the question is, again, this is a week. There's a limited player pool because of the pricing, and you're just going to have to thread the needle. So do you want Woody Marks or do you want Nico Collins? Which one is going to go off? I think one of them will go off probably in this game, maybe both, but you got to kind of pick your poison, and not pick your poison. It's pick which one not to take, honestly.
Right. I will say this, Jaden Higgins has ended up in the second wide receiver and 2 wide receiver sets for them. I don't think he's going to get clicked, but as far as like a punt wide receiver play, I don't hate it. He scored that. He scored a couple touchdowns. It's very weird because Davis Mills was very viable. Was it last week where they had the big game? They had the big comeback against the Jaguars, and he's cheap, and it kind of opens up a lot of the other stuff. And I'm just sitting. I'm not going to.
I tweeted the other day. I'm like, that actually happened. That wasn't just a dream.
Yeah. And I mean, this Titans team is just terrible. Seems like Calvin Ridley's back. I'm not playing any wide receivers. I don't want to play Pollard or Spears against this Houston defense. And then talk about Gunnar Helm getting some run. No thanks. I just have no interest in that. Texans defense is going to be top of the board, but the Titans defense, I think, is going to get played a lot. They are 3,100 going up against this offensive line. Jeffrey Simmons is back, like I said, on DraftKings. Let me pull this up here. Titans will end up being the cheapest defense, and if they just hold their own, I mean, as long as they don't get blown out, I think they can get you 7 to 8 points, and people will play that so they can pay up to their other stuff. So, are you? We'll talk about him in a little bit. Is it Woody Marks or RJ Harvey for you today? I feel like that's the.
Yeah, I like them both. I'm going to lean to Marks just because of the game script, but I do like Harvey. Harvey's in my pool.
Okay, so fair enough. Next game, this is a very fun one. There's another game that's got a wind alert warning that I have to give out if you are into that stuff. But Cincinnati Bengals on the road facing Pittsburgh. They played a couple weeks ago. Jamar Chase goes absolutely nuclear. Joe Flacco, I believe that was his debut or the game afterwards, just had a monster game. Both these teams kind of went back and forth. No Shamar Stewart or Trey Hendrickson today for the shitty-ass Bengals defense. This sets up really nice for another shootout. Is that the way that you feel this game's going to go?
I'm a little nervous on this game, but let's get the numbers here. We've got Cincinnati as a 5.5-point road dog, 49 early total. So 21.75 implied for the Bengals, 27.25 for the Steelers. Somehow the Pittsburgh Steelers have the highest implied total of the DFS slate. What world are we? Davis Mills is QB1 last week. What world are we living in? Did somebody pull off the wings of a butterfly and go back in time and completely script the timeline? I'm not sure what happened here. I'm a little nervous about this game. Last one, what was it? 42-40 game for the ages and the aged quarterbacks.
Yep.
It's so, with these division games, it's so hard to repeat those kind of outlier outcomes. So yeah, I know both these defenses are terrible. You can't totally fade this game because if it does go off, everyone's going to have this game, and you probably can't be sitting here with none of it and expect to win. But if you want to get contrarian, I don't hate fading this game. But there's certainly I love Jaylen Warren this week. He's an absolute smash. I like DK Metcalf. I've heard some people say that they're a little bit afraid of DK Metcalf.
Turner.
DJ Turner on DK Metcalf. Sorry. I'm not, because they're moving around Metcalf around the formation. So I think he can kind of get some run. He's run a lot of slants and stuff like that. So I'm not super concerned about DJ Turner and the matchup. So I do like DK a little bit. It's just the price is kind of tight. And there's some other guys in that price range I like as well. And then, everybody on the Cincinnati side, it's like, which one do you want? So I do kind of like Rodgers. If you're going to play Metcalf, I kind of like Rodgers as a stack. I don't mind doing Rodgers, Warren, Metcalf onslaughts, but I could, like I say, I'm not going super in on this game because I could see this game kind of disappointing and not going total nuke. And remember, there was a college game there yesterday, so the field's probably going to be pretty bad shape.
Yep. I will say this: I really like this game, and I like it for the Steelers side. I'm a little worried. The Steelers defense has tightened up a little bit. I'm worried that we get the Joe Flacco pumpkin game where he throws like the couple pick sixes and it just gets like really out of hand. We saw, Jamar Chase just get peppered. I don't think Steelers are obviously going to let that happen again. The 41 points. I think T. Higgins is very, very fun click today because all the attention is going to go to Jamar Chase. People don't think of T. Higgins as this like ceiling player. He has totally got the ceiling that Jamar Chase does as far as some of these just absolute monster games. 36 points against Chicago just recently. And then, Chase Brown, you talk about the dump offs. He's a fun click today. A little cheaper than Jalen Warren, who I like a lot, who I'll get to here in a second. Chase Brown, no Samaje Perine, no Taj Brooks, or the rookie hasn't been a factor. So it's really just going to be him in the backfield. So it's just on the other side, I like Aaron Rodgers. I think I like Aaron Rodgers more than in the field. I say that as somebody who thinks Aaron Rodgers is the worst person on the planet. I mean, I think this sets up really nice. I know he did not get there last time, but I like DK Metcalf. I obviously like Jalen Warren. He's had 15 touches each game over the last month, and last time he went for 157. I like both tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth. I would prefer Jonnu over Freiermuth today, but I think both are viable. You can get the Darnell Washington, that like 7 foot, 400-pound offensive lineman / tight end touchdown thing. I mean, Jonnu Smith, 2,900 on DraftKings. He's 5,100 on FanDuel. Pat Frymuth's a little more expensive than he is. And then I believe it's Calvin Austin, who is the wide receiver too. So I like Rodgers. I like pairing him with Metcalf and one of the tight ends. Like I said, I think I'm leaning Jonnu this week, and I think that one of these tight ends could end up having a monster game. Bengals give it up everywhere. They're terrible against the run. They're the worst team on defense and worst defense in the league against the run. They're terrible against tight end. They're just terrible at tackling, terrible at showing up, terrible at being prepared. They're just god awful, dog shit. And it's expensive, but I think Steelers defense is a really fun tournament play because I think that a couple Joe Flacco pick sixes kind of sets it off, and then they end up having the slate or the defense that kind of breaks the slate. So they're a little cheaper on DraftKings than FanDuel this week, but I do like them a lot. So anything else on this game? I don't think there is.
I think you hit it.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So I think people are going to play Jalen Warren this week, and then they're going to forget about the rest of the Steelers.
Very highly played, yeah.
Yeah, and he's a great click. I'm not saying he's not, but I think Aaron Rodgers for this matchup is going to go a little under-owned with some of his playmakers, and I think that's a way to attack this week. So next game, a game that is not as fun, Carolina Panthers on the road. Falcons somehow a 3.5-point favorites after getting their absolute ass beat a couple weeks ago, 30-0 by Carolina. So make it make sense.
I'm not sure I can, but we'll try. Carolina 3.5-point road dogs in this one, 42.5-point implied total, 19.5 for Carolina, 23 implied for Atlanta. Sounds like Drake London is going to play. We got that note overnight. Even though he's ill and has a back injury, we're not going to get boned like we did a couple weeks ago where he did not play.
Right.
Man, this just feels like a revenge game for Atlanta. After that, losing 30-0 when Bryce Young had like 100 yards passing. Man, Bryce Young has been just so bad. Honestly, I think the Packers, even in that loss, kind of exposed Carolina, and that if you can shut down Rico Dowdle, they just have no offense. Yeah. Because Bryce Young's been so bad. So happened last week with the Saints. They just you shut down Rico Dowdle, you force them to throw, and Bryce Young cannot rise to the occasion. So as much as I like Tet McMillan as a player, I just can't get there unless they find a new quarterback or Bryce. This was about the time last year where Bryce Young kind of started getting going, but I'm not going to bet on lightning striking twice. I kind of like everything on the Atlanta side. I think that the Carolina offense or defense has been exposed as well. I remember everyone was talking about how good they were against the run, and then James Cook just took them apart. So
Yep.
I think Bijan is in play, especially after I think this could be a Bijan get right game after Algier got the 2 touchdowns last week. I like Drake London a lot, and I like Kyle Pitts a lot because Carolina is really bad against tight ends. So, and if you wanted to do an onslaught, I'm okay with Michael Penix.
Yeah, I'm glad you said Kyle Pitts because I'm in on Kyle Pitts this week. He's cheap too.
Yep.
He's like I said, this tight end seems like tight end's going to make or break the slate for whatever reason. But he's gotten almost like 100% participation when the offense. He's not like a part-time player or anything here. Darnell Mooney just been god awful, so I'm not even going to attempt that. But Drake London has been like the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy over like the last month, so he's been awesome here. I think Atlanta's defense is in play too. 3,300 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
And then on DraftKings, they're up there, but 3,500. Talk about Bijan. I feel like he is similar to the Justin Jefferson of running backs, where one of these players that he's not been forgotten about near as much as Justin Jefferson, but people are so off of it because of the Tyler Algier workload. We've seen Bijan have these like where he breaks it 60 yards to the house. He does that twice and kind of breaks the slate here. He's cheaper than McCaffrey, and he's not going to get played because, like I said, I think people are going to play these wide receivers and Trey McBride. So he's going to get left all alone there. And then Penix, I can't tell if I'm just prejudiced against left-handed quarterbacks, but watching him play football it is a brutal experience.
I don't like it, but I think it'll be contrarian. And like I say, if you want, I want to have some Atlanta onslaught. So yeah. Avalanche stack. So yeah, I'm going to have some Penix today.
Yeah. And honestly, if you do the Atlanta stuff, I know Drake London gets kind of expensive, or Bijan if you play one or the other, but if you play Penix, you play Kyle Pitts, it really opens up the rest of your lineup for some other stuff. So
yep.
I have no interest in Rico. I've said that, and he has burnt my ass over the last month, but I think the Rico experience is kind of over for him absolutely just breaking the slate because you can just stuff the box against him and then they don't do anything else, like you said. So,
yeah, there's also a difference between $5,200 Rico and $6,500 Rico.
That's true. That's very true.
Like he's not going to kill you like he was when he was crazy cheap if you didn't have him.
Yeah. So, next game here. This one's pretty interesting, I think, for one side. The LA Chargers go on the road to Jacksonville. Sounds like we got no Brian Thomas Jr., who has been abysmal. Yep. No Travis Hunter. I think Parker Washington's playing. I think Jacoby Myers is going to be fine. Brenton Strange, I believe we are waiting another week on him to get activated, but there's a lot to like here.
Out. Yep.
Okay. So I think there's a lot to like here. So if you get the numbers for us.
I agree. Chargers 3-point road favorites in this one in Jacksonville. So rematch of that, what was it, 24-0 game or 27-0 game from playoff game from a couple of years ago? The one career highlight for Trevor Lawrence.
He has not done anything before and done anything after in the NFL.
You are correct. So 44.5 point total in this one, 23.75 implied for the Chargers, 20.75 implied for Jacksonville. Since the Joe Alt injury, the Chargers, and that wasn't that long ago, but when they haven't had Joe Alt, the Chargers have really gone to a kind of quick passing game. So I like Ladd McConkey a lot in this one. Jacksonville's kind of a pass funnel defense. They're pretty good against the run and very bad against, like Jacksonville's defense is, like we talked about this before, they're totally propped up by turnovers. If you don't get turnovers against that, or they don't get turnovers, they're just not a good defense. So, and they gave up a QB 1 week to Davis Mills. Again, that is a thing that happened last week. Herbert's in play. I like McConkey quite a bit this week. I think people are going to play Kamani Vidal, but I don't love that play. Just like I said, I think like he could fall into the end zone, get a couple touchdowns. That's in play. His price is okay, but I'd rather go to the Aaron Joneses and the Woody Markses than kind of pay for Vidal this week because I think you're going to need to save a little bit of salary. I think that's the way I'm playing this. And Gadsden again is in play as a tight end as well.
I like Gadsden a lot, and he's going to be one of my main players in the player pool. Jaguars been terrible against tight end, so I like Herbert. I wish this offensive line was just half-ass. I mean, they are just absolutely ass right now. Everybody's hurt, but
yeah, they're just average.
I'm curious. I don't think Jacoby Myers is going to be a big deal. I still think he's trying to get acclimated into the offense. Parker Washington has quietly been very good. I think he's very viable as a punt wide receiver play, even though he's a little more expensive. I mean, this is not like the full-on punt experience, but I think he's going to get some play. And honestly, I think a very fun tournament play, or I shouldn't say fun, I think a very interesting tournament play is Travis Etienne. Ever since they came out of the bye, they've went to establish the run just because Trevor Lawrence, Liam Cohen figured out that he sucks, and there's just nothing you can do about it. So I think Etienne will get a lot of run today. Charter stuff's really fun. Ladd McConkey, I believe, is wide receiver 3 ever since week 5. So that first month where everybody thought, he was a terrible click, and Quentin Johnston was getting all the run, and Ladd McConkey has quietly really become kind of the alpha, and he's got another nice spot here against Jacksonville. Any interest in defense today for either one of these?
Not really. I don't think they're that much at that price point. I'd rather go with. We'll talk about the weather in the Baltimore game. I'd rather go with like Baltimore at the same price point as the Chargers. And I'm not playing the Jacksonville defense. Like if they turnovers are great for DFS, but if they don't get them, they're kind of useless. And I think the Chargers are going to score in this game. So I probably not for me.
Yeah, I will say Jacksonville if they start racking up sacks, but if they're a little more expensive, I mean that's just that's my only thing there. So. Last game in the early slate, another win game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road to Buffalo facing Josh Allen and the Bills. Seems like a game where both these teams kind of need a win. I think both of them are playoff teams, but they're both trying to get a higher seed, and both of them feels like they're kind of reeling a little bit, and they have a bunch of injuries. So I think it's very interesting. I think Bills being 6-point favorite is a little ridiculous, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think they're playing the Josh Allen coming off a loss line, but we'll see how that plays out. So I've got early line had this at Tampa 5.5 underdogs, maybe up to 6. So 47-point total in this one of the higher totals of the week. 20.75 implied for Tampa, 26.25 implied for Buffalo. Again, it's the Josh Allen after a loss narrative. So I don't want to go to the dance with no Josh Allen, just because this is a game that he could go nuke. I am not afraid of starting Cook against Tampa. We saw Trevion Henderson get there. If you just are smart enough to not run up the middle on Tampa, you can get there. I know that's kind of where James Cook does his thing, but if you can kind of break a long one, and that's what James Cook does do, you can get there. So I don't mind James Cook in this one. I don't know that I would start Allen and Cook in the same lineup, but maybe that's a contrarian option. Tampa side, Book is fun. I don't trust Rachaad White, man. I can't get there with Rachaad White. He was a guy I liked coming into the season, but this hasn't been good. And I don't think Sean Tucker's going to get on a volume to matter, even though the Buffalo run defense is brutal. But if you need a punt, I don't mind Sean Tucker. If you really need to pay down, if you're trying to get, a couple of the top end guys you need to pay down at running back, I don't think it's the worst click.
Yeah. No Keon Coleman, and it's not that he's injured. I guess they're just tired of his crap. I mean, he wasn't doing anything. So no Dalton Kincaid either. I'll just say I think Bucks went out.
Did they deactivate Coleman? Is that true?
They did. So it's what they said yesterday, and they brought up God's gift to.
I missed that one.
NFL football, Gabe Davis. So we're going to try to recreate the magic of the Chiefs and Bills playoff game a while back. And they said it yesterday. I'm going to assume that he is a just healthy scratch. So there was some coach speak earlier in the week saying Keon Coleman wasn't doing good enough in practice and just kind of seems like punishment. He wasn't doing anything anyway, so I don't know why it's such a big deal. But
no, he's not.
No Dalton Kincaid either, and I think that's pretty much a big deal. Outside of Shakir, they really have nobody at wide receiver. So Dalton Kincaid has been really good. We get Dawson Knox pretty cheap here, 4,700 on FanDuel, DraftKings, 3,300. I think it's very viable this week. I would talk about the punt plays that we've kind of hammered that throughout this, but I like the Buccaneer side, and I'm just going to go through it. We're going to play the hits with the Baker doubles. It's Baker, it's Ibuka, Tez Johnson, Club Fantasy show yesterday. I felt like we dedicated that entire hour and a half to Tez Johnson So, and that's the way I would play it. So, K. Dotton I think is okay, but I like the Baker stuff. I think Buccaneers went outright today.
Nice.
I don't know. I don't understand this Bills. This Bills team is just not good, and it's just Josh Allen kind of propping up a house that looks like it's about ready to fall over. So
they have had some pretty bad losses. You talk about losing at Miami, losing to Atlanta. Yeah, they're just wildly inconsistent, man.
Yeah, and so we'll see about that. James Cook, he's always fun. I think if Buffalo wins, that they need to play James Cook, and it just seems like they get away from it. They do it for a week, and then they get away for it for a couple games, and they lose, and they're like, "Oh, we got James Cook, so we're gonna run James Cook again," and then we just repeat the process. I don't think Joe Brady's all that great, but it's above my pay grades. Say that, I guess. So, any interest in either of these defenses? I'm gonna assume no.
No, not in a 47-point total game.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, the wind is a deal. It's going to be a deal, but I don't think either of these quarterbacks are going to be super affected by the wind. I'm not super worried about that.
So, like I said, I like Baker a lot. We've seen his ceiling multiple times, and none of these guys are going to get played. So, I like the Baker doubles a lot, and I like Buccaneers to win. That is kind of my, I guess, outrageous take of the day. So we'll see how that one goes.
I like it.
But we're going to get into we got 4 late games. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you got any questions, you can say hi, pop in the chat, and we'll get those taken care of for you as well. So, going to kick off the afternoon slate with the Chiefs at the Broncos. We get J.K. Dobbins. He seems like he's going to be out for the rest of the year. Isaiah Pacheco also out for this game. Patrick Surtain, I believe, is out as well. So this game's been pretty ugly the last couple times they've played in the last year and a half, but I know what we talked about yesterday. It seems like you like this game a little bit more than I do.
Yeah, RIP to my best ball teams because Dobbins was one of my highest drafted players. So that's going to be rough. But KC 4-point road favorites in this one, 45 total. So 24 and a half for Kansas City, if I can spit that out. 20 and a half for Denver. Yeah, I think there's 2 ways you can look at this game. Either I think the way you're looking at it is these are 2 teams with very good defenses, and it's a division game, and a lot of times these games turn into slogs. I think that's fair. I'm looking at it as this is KC coming off a bye, which Andy Reid coming off a bye has always been very good. One of my sneaky players of the day is going to be Xavier Worthy because I think they probably spent the last 10 days kind of figuring out ways to get him more involved in the offense. So I like him quite a bit today as a kind of punt wide receiver. 4,900 is just crazy for a guy who could have the role that he could have if they want to force him getting involved. And as good as Denver's defense is, they're not great covering slot receivers. So I like Rashi and I like Worthy. I don't mind if you want to do a Mahomes double, I could see both of those guys getting there. But yeah, I'm not afraid of this game, and I think people are going to kind of shy away from this game because of the defenses. So I think this is a chance to get contrarian with the Chiefs, and that's not something that usually happens.
No, I guess I should say the reason why I don't like it is because people are excited about RJ Harvey. Can I go on a quick rant real quick that has nothing to do about this game?
I know where you're going, so please do.
Do you though? I think
maybe not.
I think I'm going a little off brand here, and we're going to talk a little bit redraft just for a second. Can I say that even though it looks like it's going to hit, drafting Travion Henderson and RJ Harvey in like the 5th round of redraft leagues is still bad process, even though it looks like they are going to hit? Or am I just being a boomer thinking that this is not fair?
I think it's a fair point in that we know they're going to get there, but if it takes them half a season to actually get there, then you kind of probably wasted some draft capital getting so it's kind of that needle you have to thread of I need these guys in the playoffs, but I also need to get to the playoffs. If you're taking these guys in round 4, if you're overdrafting these guys, then it's tough to do. So it's like Harvey had that great game, but were you in redraft, were you starting him that week? Probably not. So
no.
I think that is a fair point.
No, I don't think it's fair that both these guys have injuries that kind of catapult them. They were droppable 2 weeks ago. Everybody was like, Henderson's droppable, Harvey's droppable, and now it's like I'm going to post my 40% best ball exposure bag to RJ Harvey for my 9th place team. Like, all right, pal, good for you. Like, It just, I think it's bullshit, but that's me getting all hot about it. RJ Harvey, we're going to talk about him today. Haven't trusted Sean Payton all year. He has done this.
I was going to say, I thought the rant was going to be the Sean Payton rant.
And it is. So, yeah, I guess you were right. I'm going to get right into this. We are excited to play RJ Harvey today. He is 5,400 on DraftKings. He is 5,800 on FanDuel, and he's probably going to shove it up my ass today. I'm sure he will rip off 2 long ones for 2 touchdowns, but Sean Payton's going to play committee. He's going to play Jaleel McLaughlin, who's going to get activated just for this moment. He's going to play Tyler Bidet, who, nobody cares about, who was already playing. There were 3 running backs. They wouldn't run J.K. Dobbins was averaging like 400 yards a carry, and they wouldn't play him, and they would lose because of it. I know they've only lost 2 games, but there was games that J.K. Dobbins was running wild, and they wouldn't do it because they'd rather have Bo Nix check it down or chuck it 5 yards over somebody's head. And now RJ Harvey's here, and everybody's just pumped to play him. I'm not excited about the RJ Harvey experience today. And you know what? Is it going to burn me? Probably, but I'm just going to stand by it. I'd rather play Woody Barks. I'd rather play Aaron Jones. I'm frustrated. I don't think this is Rico Dowdle from a couple weeks ago where he gets hurt. And RJ Harvey was a role player. And even when he hit the big game, he had like 4 carries or 4 touches. It's not like he had a workload. So I don't get this shit, but it's. Are you excited?
I was going to say, I am excited to play RJ Harvey, and I'm probably going to Sean Payton is probably going to stick it up to me. So yeah.
No, so
we are mirror images in that you're not going to play him, and you're afraid you're going to get burned, and I am going to play him, and I'm afraid I'm going to get burned.
I think I'm right. You think you're right. And I mean, we're just like an old couple fighting about this. We're not even fighting, but we're both on the wrong end of it. It's Sean Payton.
Yeah, we're probably arguing the same point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people are going to show up to RJ Harvey. And if I think he gets under 15 touches today. I don't think he walks into this work.
It's possible.
And people are excited with confidence, and it's very frustrating. Chiefs side, I really like Rashee Rice at his price today because he is Jamar Chase, he is Puka, he is Jackson Smith-Njigba, and he's 8,200, where these guys are 9K players. Ever since he's come back, he is 20+ every single week. No Patrick Surtain, which that's kind of whatever. But he is a really fun tournament play. I think he's cash viable. I don't know if people are going to play him, but I think he's very cash viable. Yeah, I'm more open to the Chiefs stuff. Like I said, I shouldn't have hated this game as much as I do. I just hate this process that people are going to play RJ Harvey and probably going to end up being right about it when I think they're wrong. So, anything else? Kareem the Dream, are you interested in him today?
No, but I do want to say Troy Franklin's gotten 37 targets in the last 4 weeks. So he has surpassed Cortland Sutton in the target share. He's about $500 cheaper on DK than Sutton, which, I mean, that's going to flip anytime, probably by next week. So you probably want to get in on Franklin while the getting is good. It's a volume play. I think he's probably cash viable just because he's fairly cheap, and he's like I say, he's getting almost 10 targets a week.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's definitely got more than Sutton. Sutton's the name that people they just think he's always going to be the Broncos #1 and don't really realize the numbers that Franklin has done better than he has. So, I feel like I've gone so off the rails here. I don't even know how to get back on the tracks, but, any defensive, any interest in either? I think Chiefs defense is viable. Bo Nix's been terrible.
What's their price? The Chiefs at 3,100 on DK. Yeah, that's viable. Broncos are. Yeah, I'm not playing the Broncos. 2,600. It's a nice price, but yeah, I don't love it.
Yeah, so we'll get off this game before I have a hernia talking about
aneurysm.
Yeah, aneurysm. See, I can't even think straight. This is how bad it's gotten. So, last wind alert game. We have 4 of them. This last one here, Baltimore, who needs a win. They need to keep winning. They need to keep racking these up. Going to Cleveland, face one of the worst quarterbacks of all time, along with Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel and the Cleveland Browns. So 7.5 road favorites. I feel like that's a little light for Baltimore, but that's just me.
Yeah. Early line had this at 8.5, 39 point total. So that that tells you that the casinos, the sports books do not think that Cleveland can score in this game. So 23.75 implied for Baltimore, 15.25 for Cleveland. Like I say, I'm an hour out of Cleveland. I'm like not on the lake, and it is windy as hell here. So there's going to be some wind in this game. It's clear, so there's not going to be any rain, but yeah, it is going to be windy. That is not good for Dylan Gabriel, a guy who cannot push the ball down the field at all. And that's really like, that is where Baltimore's defense is most vulnerable. So yeah, I just don't, I'm going to be fading Quinshon Judkins because I think they are going to have to I think Baltimore's just going to say, we're going to stop Quinshon Judkins and make Dylan Gabriel beat us. And I don't think they can do it. So yeah, I like Derrick Henry quite a bit in this game because I think the weather sets up for it. And I don't think they're going to have to throw to win this game. So I think you'd just be a very heavy dose of Derrick Henry. He is expensive, but I do want to have a decent amount of Henry in my portfolio.
Yeah. I mean, you say Derrick Henry's expensive, but in our world of playing DFS, he's like the cheapest he's ever been. It feels like
that's probably true. Yeah, that's true.
Compared to what we used to pay $10K for him every single week. So I think
he's expensive relative to the Marks and Aaron Jones guys, but yeah, compared to the Christian McCaffreys, he is not. And I would much rather play him than Dowdle, who's more expensive.
Yep. Zay Flowers, I think he's going to get clicked a lot today. He's been pretty good. He's not been alpha good, but I mean, he's been all right. And who is it? Mark Andrews is 4 yards away from catching Derek Mason as the greatest Baltimore tight end of all time. So just something to think about. Mark Andrews has been really good as far as touchdowns go. As 3 touchdowns over the last 2 games. Isaiah Likely has not been a factor if you were worried about him. Just not been good. Came on here last week, said Jerry Jeudy was the 469th ranked wide receiver in the NFL. And of course he scores a touchdown and catches a couple balls. So still not viable, but I just do need to bring that up. Baltimore defense, going to be expensive, $4,500 on FanDuel. And then on DraftKings, they are top of the list at really $3,800. Yeah, but I think they'd be
deserved, but yeah, they are expensive.
Let me look up Zay Flowers' price here real quick. And no Justice Hill, I believe no Rashad Bateman either. So DeAndre Hopkins, I'm not going to play him, but I do think he's kind of a fun probably tournament play if you're going to play the Lamar stuff with him. I do think he ends up being okay there. So it's honestly Derrick Henry and probably the defenses for me, and that's about it. So anything else on this game? I don't.
Yeah, I do want to say I do kind of like using the underdog drafts as a proxy for where the ownership is going to go on DFS. It's not 1-to-1 obviously, but when you consider pricing and everything, man, I do think Lamar is going to be really contrarian today. So it's not a great spot, but I just don't think anybody's going to be showing up with Lamar. So if he does go, and remember, he had 4 touchdown passes against them the first time. It's kind of a wonky game script, but yeah, I mean, showing he can do it at I think his ownership may be single digits, maybe under 5%. So yeah, I don't want to show up with 0 because I think he could be getting Lamar Jackson at contrarian ownership. I think it's just a chance to be really different.
Yeah, and he's had multiple top 5 finishes against this Jim Schwartz defense. I know people are scared of him, but especially you talk about the wind and you get Lamar on the run. I mean, we've seen it before, so I think he
can break a slate. Yeah,
I think that's a great call. So 2 games left. The San Francisco 49ers. We finally get the return of Big Cock Brock Purdy facing the Arizona Cardinals. Ricky Pearsall's back. Seems like 49ers offense is probably back to full health outside of Brandon Ayuk. So very interesting on both sides. We'll talk about McBride here momentarily, but pretty interesting game, I would say, 49ers and the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think this is the pivot game for DFS today. So San Francisco, a 3-point road favorite, 48 is the total, 25.5 implied total for the Niners, 22.5 for the Cardinals. We mentioned it earlier. The way I am playing today is I am playing McBride in my flex in almost every lineup because at 6,300 on DK, I think he will put up, with no Marvin Harrison, I think he will put up kind of wide receiver numbers at that price. And I think that's a great value. And remember, if you're going to do late swap, This is a late game. It lets you put a cheap tight end in your lineup because we're going to need to save some salary. And if you go into the late games and you're trailing, you can get huge leverage on the field because there's a chance that McBride is the highest ownership player of the day today. I think it's very much in play. If you go into these late games and you're trailing, I think it's a huge arbitrage opportunity to pivot off of McBride and just get somebody else from this game, get somebody else from the Rams Seattle game. If you're behind and you need to get different, this is a very good way to do it. So like I say, I think McBride is going to be in my flex in almost every lineup today.
Yeah, it's I agree with you. I think Trey McBride easily ends up the most owned tight end, probably player on the slate today.
I think he will be the most owned player on the slate today.
And that's why I come here to say I feel like I'm going to get a lot different. I'm going to see if I can get him to fail. And I'm just all in.
Yeah.
I'm all in on the 49ers today. I know Brock Purdy, especially on FanDuel, he gets really cheap on FanDuel, but I love Purdy in the spot against the Cardinals defense. It's just kind of reeling. I know Jacoby Brissett's been fine, but Brock Purdy's been very good when he's on the field. Gets Pearsall back before he got hurt. He was leading, I believe he was leading the league in yards for the first couple weeks, which I know that doesn't mean much, but him. And then we talked about Trey McBride and his ceiling, and I get the ceiling as far as receptions, and he's starting to catch touchdowns, but the guy on the other side has that same ceiling in George Kittle, and he's $1,000 cheaper. So I like George Kittle a lot today. Christian McCaffrey is obviously expensive, and this is the problem with this game. If you play McBride, you play McCaffrey, who is $10K.
Yeah, it's really tough.
It gets very wonky pretty quick. And I mean, McCaffrey's been, a top 5 receiver. He's obviously a top 5 running back at this rate. The workload, I think the workload lessens a little bit, and I think you can play this game just through Brock Purdy, George Kittle, and then if you want to play Pearsall or Jennings, that's the way I'm going to play it today. So I'm pretty much all in on Brock Purdy today. He's probably going to be played more on FanDuel than DraftKings, like I said, because of his price. But it sets up really nice against Arizona. And then as far as these punt wide receivers, you get a couple of them here. Michael Wilson or Greg Dortch. I feel like Dortch has kind of showed up in these spots over the years. It seems like the last couple of years, he's like the last guy's like a small dude, just runs fast. But 3,300 on DraftKings and then FanDuel, I believe he's going to be 5,200 wide receiver. Any interest in those guys if you have a preference?
I do think we talked about the Packers Avalanche stacks. I think the other team that people will play Avalanche to get kind of really cheap is the Cardinals. I think there'll be a lot of Brissett, McBride, Dortch, Wilson, either or both, just because they're both so cheap. I think a lot of people are going to kind of play it that way. I would kind of prefer just to be contrarian to play it through the Packers, but right. I think that's a thing that people will be doing. So yeah, I want to have some access to that as well.
Yeah. I do want to go over the 49ers wide receivers, 5,700 on FanDuel and 5,400 for Ricky Pearsall. And then Juwan Jennings has been really good. I know he goes under the radar, 5,100 and then 6,200 on FanDuel. So if you play it on FanDuel and you play those guys, and I guess Kittle's expensive, but just through the wide receivers and fade CMC, which that's a tough task. I mean, but I think
I would kind of, not to interrupt you, I would rather play Pearsall on DK and Jennings on FanDuel because I think Pearsall is probably going to be the volume guy. We'll see, assuming he's okay, but I don't think they'd be playing him if he wasn't because he's been out forever. Right. He did have a big volume role before he got hurt. And I think Jennings would be the touchdown guy. So yeah, that's the way I'd really kind of split those guys out.
Yep. So that should do it for this game here. 49ers do not have anybody on defense. How they are 4,900 on FanDuel is beyond me.
That's crazy.
Jesus Christ.
That's the most, other than the Giants, maybe the most injury ravaged defense in the league. So yeah, no chance.
But good grief. Eye-opening. Last game, this is going to be the game of the week for a lot of people, and I'm very interested to see how this goes. We get Seattle Seahawks on the road to LA to face the Rams. Game of the week because both these offenses and defenses are just absolutely whooping ass. So it's either going to be, I feel like, the tale of two teams of the 85 Bears defense or the two of the greatest show on turf offenses. Just trying to figure out how this game goes. How do you feel like this one's going to go?
Yeah, honestly, this is probably the game of the year in the NFL up to this point. So Seattle 3-point road dogs here, 48.5 is the implied total, 22.75 for Seattle and 25.75 for the Rams. I think just some people who are afraid this is going to be like a defensive slug out, but remember Seattle got just toasted by Tampa a few weeks. Well, it's probably about a month ago now, but so yeah, these are not impervious defenses. Rams are very good against the run, but they're not great against the pass. And they, remember they had that shootout game with the 49ers on that Thursday night game as well. So yeah, these are defenses that you can poke holes in. So yeah, I'm not afraid to play this game. The problem is it's really expensive. Like Puka and JSN are at the top of the wide receiver charts. Kyron Williams is interesting, but yeah, it's like he's not cheap. And, the way the pricing is this week, like I don't want to have none of him, but I'd rather have James Cook. I'd rather go down to kind of Marks and like the Marks Aaron Jones tier, like we talked about. So it's kind of hard to fit him in. It's just, yeah, I like both these quarterbacks. Obviously, if you're going to play JSN, then I like Darnold. If you're going to play Puka or Devontae, then I definitely like Stafford. I'm not afraid to start these quarterbacks, but yeah, it's just this game is just so expensive. I'm not touching the Seattle running backs. Zero. I will have zero of the Seattle running backs this week.
Yeah, the Seattle running backs are like the two best handcuffs in football. If one of them go down, the other guy will be great for when that time
But with them both healthy, they're useless.
I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to play much of this game. It's just way too expensive. And I feel like the way people are going to play it is they are going to load up. They're going to play all the cheap stuff around it. But Puka, JSN, I don't know how you play both of them together because you're probably going to have to play a quarterback. Devontae Adams is there as well.
You probably have to play a quarterback.
So, I mean, if you play Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, and Stafford, that eats up a ton of your salary. You're punting at running back. You're punting at wide receiver. You're probably playing a punt tight end and a punt defense. So and you don't necessarily want one off of it. And I mean, if you had to pick between Puka or JSN, the two best wide receivers in football, you have preference today? I guess we'll start there.
Man, JSN, I mean, what's the difference between JSN and 2020? Was it 21 Cooper Cup when he had that league year? They're the same guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would probably lean to JSN since there's not much of a price difference. And it's just, man, he's been good. Last week kind of sucked because they got the two defensive scores and just kind of shut it down, which kind of killed all the Darnold teams. But that's not going to happen this week. So yeah, I would rather go through JSN, but yeah, it's close. I don't want to show up with neither because they could both bury you.
Now, we'll say this about the Rams. They've been playing a lot of tight ends on the field. And I don't know if people notice that the Terrence Ferguson experience, and that takes Puka Nacua off the field just for a little bit, but just enough to kind of be eye-opening. So
yeah,
I've tried to find different ways to play this, like the tight ends. AJ Barner, I think he's fine as a flyer, but Terrence Ferguson, Kyron's been fine, but I mean, is he going to bury you? No. I'm really struggling here to honestly play much of this game, and I know a lot of people are really excited about it. There's no good way to do it. The one interesting thing is if he got behind the defense, Rashid Shaheed, that is the only, but we don't really know, and he's cheap too, so I guess if you play him with Darnold stuff, but I mean, if you have a bring back for the Rams, it's Devontae or Puka. There's nobody else on that.
Yeah, I don't mind Shaheed as a bring back for Puka.
Yeah, so it just ends up
if you want to play the game heavy.
Yeah, so like I said, it's the game of the week, and I think there's going to be points, but I just don't know how. I just don't know how you play it. I guess it gets too expensive punting. I guess you could just play at the punt every other position outside the two wide receivers, but is it? I don't know. It's just it's one of the most weirder big games that we've had in quite some time because they're both good on offense and defense. Every player in this game is expensive outside of the players that obviously suck, and then it's hard to play it. So, are you going to be with the field, overweight on the field on these wide receivers? I guess that's the last question before we get out of here. Or
this game just elsewhere. It feels like one of those Buffalo Kansas City games, right? Or it's and they always turn into like, except for that one playoff game, they always turn into like 24-21 games. I think this will be kind of the same thing. And it's like, does anybody really bury you in this game? And that's what has to happen because these guys are so expensive. Like the JSN, Puka, those guys are so expensive. They really have to kind of go nuke to pay off those prices. So yeah, I'll probably be a little bit underweight. I do want to have JSN. I don't want to fade him, but I'll probably be a little underweight on Puka.
So it's probably, like I said, I'm going to be underweight on this game, and we'll see if it bears me. Between that and RJ Harvey, it's going to be a very interesting week. So that'll wrap it up for week 11. Before we get out of here, of course, the most important portion of the show, flag plants. So a very interesting week 11. So Joel, if you want to kick us off for your first flag plant for week 11.
My flag plants are a combo. The first one is Josh Jacobs. We talked about the matchup with the Packers. Packers that desperately need a win, desperately needs to get the run game going because it's been really bad. Their offensive line has been terrible terrible at run blocking. But playing against a Giants team that is just brutal against the run. So probably maybe the best individual matchup of the week. And he's basically, I think he's got CMC level upside at a much cheaper price. So Josh Jacobs is going to be the guy who I probably have the highest ownership in this week.
Yeah. If it's not Josh Jacobs, as far as matchups goes, it's going to be Jaylen Warren. He's going to be my first flag plant.
Yep.
I know he's going to be owned. I do not care. He's lit him up once already. I think he does it again. So no Trey Hendrickson. Jaylen Warren against the Bengals defense or lack thereof. It just, I don't know. I just feel like it's a smash and don't care about the chalk or any of that stuff. I'm just going to play it and, just go through that way. So the second portion of your combo would be none other than
Packers defense.
Okay.
Do not show up to a DFS with a DFS lineup that does not have the defense going against Jameis Winston.
There we go.
DFS 101. That's
Easy
the first
enough.
thing they teach you at DFS college.
My second one, it's going to be a little chalky on FanDuel. I don't think he's going to get played much on DraftKings. That'd be Big Cock Brock Purdy. We forget about how good he is. I know McCorkle's been good, but Brock Purdy's just on a different level, and I think he lights up Arizona. I think he has a monster game. I think George Kittle has a monster game, and that's the way I'm going to play it this week. So that should do it for week 11. Before we get out of here, Joel, if you let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, at the Joel Wirth on the Twitter and the Bluesky, and you can always find me on IDP Plus, on the Statement Games channel, and on Club Fantasy channel as well.
There we go. So over on the Twitter machine at Jameson Rules, obviously the YouTube, Jameson Hutchison, go search that out. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and until next week, have a good week. Good luck. Go win some money. Peace out.